The last thing my father said before slamming the door was, "From today, you are no longer my daughter." I still remember the sound of that door closing. It didn't just shut me out of the house. It shut me out of my family. 10 years later, those same people were begging me to tell them the secret I had promised I would take to my grave. My name is Lulama Mackay's, and this is the story of the day my own family erased me. When I received an invitation to the Mackay's family gathering in Kebra, I stared at it for a long time. 10 years had passed since I had sat in the same room with all of them. Part of me believed time might have softened their hearts. Maybe they were finally ready to move on. Maybe this was the fresh start I had secretly prayed for. The house was full of laughter when I arrived. My uncles, aunts, cousins, and neighbors filled the backyard. For one brief moment I smiled. I thought maybe everything was going to be okay. Then my father stood up and tapped his glass. The whole yard became silent. He looked straight at me with cold eyes that held no love at all. "Lulama," he said loudly, "before this family celebrates today, everyone deserves to know one thing. You are no longer a member of the Mackay's family. From this moment on, you have no place here." A painful silence lasted only a second. Then people started clapping. Some nodded as if they had been waiting years to hear those words. My brother, Kamo, leaned back in his chair with a satisfied smile. My mother looked at me for only a moment before lowering her eyes. She didn't say a single word. She didn't defend me. That hurt more than anything my father had said. Everyone believed I had been hiding something shameful for the past 10 years. They whispered about me, judged me, and decided I didn't deserve to explain myself. I could have spoken. I could have ended everything right there. But I stayed silent. Without saying a word, I turned around and walked toward the gate. Every step felt heavier than the last, but I refused to let them see me cry. The moment I reached the street, my phone vibrated. It was a message from our family attorney, Njeri Okafor. "It's time. They deserve to know the truth." I stopped walking and stared at the screen. After 10 years of carrying a secret that had changed my entire life, the moment I had feared was finally here. I closed my eyes and whispered to myself, "Once they hear it, nothing in this family will ever be the same." The message from Attorney Njeri stayed on my phone, but my mind was already somewhere else. I didn't need anyone to remind me where this story had started. Every single day for the last 10 years, I had lived with that memory. I was 24 when everything fell apart. Back then my family was happy. My father trusted me more than anyone. My mother called me her strongest child. Even my younger brother, Kamo, followed me everywhere. We laughed together, ate together, and believed nothing could ever break us. Then one terrible night changed everything. My father came home looking frightened. He locked every door and gathered us in the living room. I had never seen him like that before. His hands were shaking as he held a small metal box close to his chest. "This family is in danger," he said quietly. "If the wrong people find what I'm protecting, all of us could lose everything." Before anyone could ask questions, someone knocked loudly on the front door. The knocking quickly turned into angry banging. Everyone froze. My father looked at me with fear in his eyes. Without saying much, he placed the metal box in my hands. "Lulama," he whispered, "don't let anyone see this. Promise me." I nodded without knowing what was inside. A few minutes later, several people entered the house. They searched every room, opened every cupboard, and asked question after question. They wanted to know where the box had gone. I stayed quiet. They searched my room too, but they found nothing. The next morning, terrible rumors spread across the neighborhood. People started saying I had stolen something from my own family. Others claimed I had betrayed my father for money. Nobody knew the truth, but everyone believed the gossip. Even worse, someone inside our own family said the missing box had disappeared because of me. I could have defended myself. I could have told everyone exactly what happened that night. Instead, I looked at my father, saw the fear in his face, and said only one sentence. "If blaming me keeps this family safe, then let them blame me." From that moment everything changed. Friends stopped calling. Relatives avoided me. My family slowly stopped treating me like a daughter and a sister. Year after year, The lies became stronger than the truth. For 10 years, I carried the blame without explaining why. As I sat in my apartment that evening, thinking about everything that had happened, I opened an old box of memories. Inside were birthday cards, school certificates, and faded family pictures. One photograph slipped onto the floor. I picked it up and looked closer. Something in the background caught my attention. Someone was standing behind us on the night that changed everything. Someone everyone had forgotten. And for the first time in 10 years I realized that old photograph might prove I had never been alone that night. I couldn't stop looking at the old photograph. I zoomed in again and again, trying to make sure my eyes weren't playing tricks on me. There, standing near the garden gate, was someone I hadn't noticed in 10 years. Before I could think any further, my phone rang. The number was unknown. For a moment I almost ignored it. Then I answered. "Lulama," an elderly voice asked. "Yes, who's this?" "It's Joseph Masiko. I don't know if you remember me." My heart skipped a beat. Course I remembered him. Uncle Joseph had been my father's closest friend for over 30 years. He was always at our birthdays, family dinners, and church events. After everything happened, he suddenly disappeared from our lives. I hadn't spoken to him in years. "I've been trying to find the courage to call you," he said quietly. "I watched what happened to you, and I've carried the guilt ever since." I didn't know what to say. He took a deep breath. "Lulama, I know you didn't do what everyone accused you of." Tears filled my eyes. For 10 years, no one had ever said those words to me. "How do you know?" I whispered. "Because I was there that night," he replied. "I saw something that nobody else saw." My hands started shaking. Joseph explained that he had arrived at our house just before the strangers came. He had parked his car across the street because he wanted to surprise my father with some important papers. From inside his car, he saw someone quietly leave the house through the back gate only minutes before the search began. "It wasn't you," he said firmly. "I saw another member of your family." I closed my eyes, trying to stay calm. "Why didn't you tell anyone?" I asked. "I tried," he answered with regret. "But your father refused to listen. By then, everyone had already decided you were guilty. Every time I brought it up, they told me to stay out of family business." His voice sounded tired. "I retired a few years ago. I thought I could forget all this. But after seeing what your family did to you again, I couldn't stay silent anymore." Then he said something that made my heart race. "I still have the folder I was bringing to your father that night. I never gave it to him." "A folder?" I asked. "Yes. I found it while cleaning my garage yesterday. I opened it for the first time in years." There was a long silence. "Lulama, there's a document inside that should have changed everything 10 years ago." The next morning, I drove to Joseph's small house. He welcomed me inside, walked to an old wooden cabinet, and carefully pulled out a dusty brown folder. "It has been waiting for you all these years," he said. As I opened it, one yellowed document slipped out and landed on the floor. The date printed at the top froze me in place. It had been signed the day before my life was destroyed. I slowly picked up the document from the floor. My hands were shaking so much that I could barely hold it. The paper was old and slightly faded, but the signatures were still clear. Joseph sat quietly across from me. "I never opened that folder until yesterday," he said. "I thought it only contained business papers. I had no idea what was inside." I looked at the first page again. It wasn't about money. It wasn't about property. It was a written statement signed by 2 witnesses, explaining exactly what had happened on the night before everything fell apart. As I read each line, my heart pounded harder. The statement said my father had received serious threats from a dangerous man who wanted something that belonged to our family. To protect everyone, my father had secretly planned to move an important item to a safe place before anyone could steal it. Then I reached the sentence that changed everything. Lulama Mackay's was never responsible for the disappearance of the item. I stopped breathing for a second. The document clearly said that I had only followed my father's instructions. I had done exactly what he asked me to do. Joseph looked at me with tears in his eyes. "You were protecting your family all along. But if this existed," I whispered. Why did everyone believe I betrayed them? Joseph pointed to the last page. Keep reading. There was another note attached to the statement. It said the document had never reached the family because it had been removed before the meeting where everyone decided I was guilty. Someone had hidden it. Someone wanted the truth to disappear. Felt sick. For 10 years, my family had hated me because of a lie that could have been stopped with one piece of paper. I thought about my father. Did he know this document had disappeared? Or had someone fooled him too? Joseph stood up and walked to his bookshelf. I've asked myself those questions for years, he said. First I thought it was an accident. Now I don't believe that anymore. He handed me another envelope. Inside were copies of old letters and meeting notes. One name appeared again and again. The same person had attended every family meeting after I was blamed. The same person had insisted that no one should contact me. The same person had told everyone the case was closed. I stared at the name, unable to speak. This can't be right, I whispered. Joseph nodded slowly. I checked every record before calling you. Whoever buried the truth wasn't a stranger. My stomach tightened as the terrible possibility sank in. The person who had destroyed my life, the person who had kept my family believing the lie for 10 long years, was someone who had been sitting beside us at every family gathering, smiling, comforting everyone, and pretending to care. They had been closer to our family than any of us had ever imagined. I left Joseph's house with more questions than answers. My mind wouldn't stop racing. Someone in my own family had hidden the truth for 10 years. I still couldn't believe it. That evening, attorney Jerry Okafor called me. I've started reviewing the documents, she said. Don't tell anyone what you've found yet. Let me verify everything first. I agreed. But somehow the news still reached my family. The very next morning my phone rang again. This time it was my brother, Kamo. He hadn't called me in years. The moment I answered, he didn't even say hello. Lulama, I heard you've been asking questions, he said nervously. Just leave the past alone. Nothing good will come from digging it up. His voice was calm, but I could hear fear hiding behind every word. I asked him a simple question. If I really ruined this family, why are you so worried about the truth? There was complete silence. Then he quickly changed the subject. You've already moved on with your life. Don't destroy what's left of ours. Before I could answer, he ended the call. Something didn't feel right. Few hours later, Joseph called me. You won't believe this, he said. Someone came to my house this morning. Who? Kamo. My heart sank. Joseph explained that Kamo had offered to take the old folder away, saying the papers were only causing more pain. When Joseph refused, Kamo became angry and demanded that the documents be destroyed before anyone else saw them. That was the moment everything became clear. My brother wasn't trying to protect the family. He was trying to protect a secret. That evening, another message appeared on my phone. It was from attorney Jerry. I've verified the documents. The evidence is real. I've scheduled an urgent meeting with the entire Mackay's family. Everyone must be present. I stared at the message for a long time. In just a few days, the family that had judged me without listening would finally be forced to hear the truth. The family meeting was held in attorney Jerry Okafor's office. For the first time in 10 years, everyone was sitting in the same room. My father sat at the head of the table with a serious face. My mother looked nervous. Kamo couldn't sit still. He kept checking his phone and avoiding my eyes. No one spoke. The silence felt heavy. Attorney Jerry walked into the room carrying several folders. She placed them on the table and looked at everyone. Today, she said calmly, we are not here to argue. We are here to look at facts. She opened the first folder and showed the written statement Joseph had kept for all those years. Then she placed certified legal records beside it. Every date matched. Every signature had been verified. This document proves that Lulama did exactly what her father asked her to do, Jerry explained. She did not steal anything. She did not betray her family. The room became completely silent. Then Joseph stood up. His voice shook as he told everyone what he had seen that night. He explained how he had watched another family member quietly leave through the back gate before strangers searched the house. He admitted that he had tried to speak years ago, but nobody had listened. One by one, the pieces finally came together. The rumors, the missing document, the false accusations. Everything had been built on one carefully hidden lie. I looked at my father. His face had turned pale. Attorney Njeri slowly handed him one final page. "It is time for you to read this yourself," she said. My father adjusted his glasses and began reading. After only a few lines, his hands started shaking. A tear rolled down his face. Then another. He covered his mouth as if he couldn't breathe. "I did this," he whispered through his tears. "I let my own daughter carry this pain for 10 years. The room was silent as my father broke down, still staring at the page that had changed everything. No one knew what to say after my father broke down. The room that had been filled with confidence only minutes earlier was now filled with guilt and fear. Then everything exploded. My uncle stood up and pointed at Kumo. "You knew more than you admitted," he shouted. "I didn't," Kumo fired back. "I only believed what everyone else believed." Another aunt shook her head. "That's not true. You were always telling us Lulama couldn't be trusted. You kept reminding us of that night." Soon everyone was talking at once. Old arguments came rushing back. Family members started blaming each other for spreading rumors, hiding information, and refusing to listen. Some admitted they had doubted the story years ago but stayed quiet because they didn't want to go against my father. My mother suddenly began crying. "I wanted to believe my daughter," she said through tears. "So many nights I wanted to visit her, but I was too afraid. I chose silence instead of standing beside my own child." Hearing those words hurt almost as much as losing my family. Then all eyes turned toward Kumo. He looked trapped. "You have to believe me," he said. "I never thought things would go this far." Attorney Njeri looked at him carefully. "Then tell us why you tried to destroy the documents at Joseph's house." Kumo's face lost all color. He opened his mouth, but no words came out. The room became silent again. For the first time, everyone realized that someone in the family had worked very hard to keep the truth buried. My father slowly walked toward me. Tears filled his eyes. "Lulama," he whispered, "please, tell us everything. We deserve to know the whole truth." I looked around the room. The same people who had clapped when I was disowned were now waiting for me to speak. I took a deep breath and wiped away my tears. "You've heard the truth about that night," I said quietly. "But there is one thing I have never told anyone." Everyone stared at me. I didn't stay silent because I was afraid. Paused for a moment. "I stayed silent because I was protecting someone, and none of you knows who that person really is." The room was so quiet that I could hear people breathing. Everyone was waiting for me to speak. For 10 years, they had believed I was hiding the truth to save myself. They were wrong. I looked at my father first. "The night you gave me that metal box," I said softly, "you were terrified. You told me that if the wrong people got it, our family would be in danger." He slowly nodded. "I hid the box exactly where you told me to hide it. I never took it for myself. I never sold it. I never betrayed you." Tears filled my father's eyes. "But that's not why I stayed silent." I turned toward Kumo. That same night after everyone left, I found Kumo outside the house. He was scared and crying. He told me he had accidentally told one of his friends about the box a few days earlier. He didn't know that information would reach dangerous people. Kumo lowered his head. "I begged you not to tell anyone," he whispered. "Yes," I replied. "You were just a young man who had made a terrible mistake. You thought Dad would never forgive you. You thought the family would hate you forever." I looked around the room. So I made my choice. I let everyone blame me because I believed I could protect my little brother. I thought the pain would last a few weeks, maybe a few months. I never imagined it would become 10 years. My voice began to shake. Every birthday I spent alone, every holiday without my family, every rumor, every tear. I accepted all of it because I loved my brother more than I loved my own reputation. Nobody could hold back their tears anymore. Kumo covered his face with both hands and started crying. I never wanted this, he sobbed. I was too afraid to tell the truth. Every year it became harder. Then I looked at my mother. She stared at Kumo, then back at me. Suddenly her face changed. She remembered something. 10 years ago, she had seen Kumo come home that night with muddy shoes and trembling hands. She had asked him what was wrong. He had said, "Nothing." A tear rolled down her cheek. "Oh my God," she whispered. I knew something was wrong with him that night, and I ignored it. My mother's words hung in the air. No one moved. No one spoke. The truth had finally come out, but instead of bringing peace, it filled the room with regret. My father slowly walked toward me. For the first time in 10 years, he looked at me the way a father should look at his daughter. He fell to his knees. "I'm so sorry, Lalama," he said, his voice breaking. "I failed you. Believed lies. I chose anger instead of trust. I threw away the daughter who was trying to protect us." Tears ran down his face. "I don't expect you to forgive me. I just want you to know that I will regret this for the rest of my life." My mother wrapped her arms around me and cried like she had been holding back those tears for years. "Please forgive me," she whispered. "I should have stood beside you. Even if the whole world was against you, I should have believed my own daughter." Around the room, my uncles, aunts, and cousins also began apologizing. One by one, they admitted they had judged me without knowing the truth. Some confessed they had repeated cruel rumors. Others said they had wanted to contact me but were too afraid to go against the family. Then Kumo stepped forward. He couldn't even look at me. "I don't deserve to call you my sister anymore," he said. "You gave up your life to protect me, and I repaid you with silence. If you never forgive me, I'll understand." I looked at every face in the room. These were the same people who had clapped when my father disowned me. Now they were crying, asking for another chance. Part of me wanted to forgive them. Another part remembered 10 birthdays, 10 lonely holidays, and 10 years without a family. Trust doesn't return the moment someone says, "I'm sorry." Takes years to rebuild what was broken. I wiped away my tears and took a deep breath. "I've already made my decision," I said quietly. Everyone held their breath. No one knew whether I was about to give my family a second chance, or walk away from them forever. I looked around the room one last time. Every face was filled with regret. For years I had dreamed about this moment. I had imagined what I would say if my family ever learned the truth. But now that the moment had finally come, I realized something. No apology could give me back the 10 years I had lost. I smiled through my tears. "I forgive all of you," I said softly. "Not because the pain is gone, but because I don't want to carry it anymore." Everyone began crying again. "But forgiveness doesn't mean everything goes back to the way it was," I continued. "Trust is like glass. Once it's broken you can fix it, but you'll always see the cracks." My father lowered his head and nodded. "I understand," he whispered. "I need time," I said. "Maybe one day we can become a family again. But that day cannot be today." No one argued. For the first time in many years, they truly listened to me. Over the next few months, my parents called me often, not to ask for anything, but simply to see how I was doing. My mother wrote me letters. My father never missed my birthday again. Kumo started volunteering at a youth center, helping young people learn that one lie can destroy many lives. He knew he could never erase the past, but he wanted to become a better man. Slowly, small pieces of our relationship began to heal. We were no longer pretending that nothing had happened. We were learning to face the truth together. I also found peace. I stopped living with anger and started living for myself. The secret I had carried for 10 years no longer controlled my life. I was finally free. If this story teaches anything, it's this. Never judge someone before hearing their side. A single lie can destroy a family, but the truth, no matter how late it comes, always finds its way into the light. The day my family disowned me, they believed they had lost a burden. 10 years later, they discovered they had abandoned the only person who had been protecting them all along.